Just imagine a place where sunlight feels like a dream, where there's nothing but darkness and all you're left with is waiting for death. This isn't imagination. This is a real place. A prison in El Salvador called CECOT, the largest and most dangerous prison in the world, capable of holding over 40,000 criminals in one single compound. You could say these people have been thrown into a living hell. There are no human rights here, no mercy, only torture. To this day, anyone who has entered never came out. There's no way of even knowing if they're alive or not. Prisoners here are fed the same food every day, plain pasta, rice, and 2 tortillas. And if anyone dares to complain, the consequences are so horrific that most can't even imagine them in their nightmares. In a single cell, 80 prisoners are crammed together. They live, eat, and even use the bathroom in the same space. Each prisoner is allotted only 0.6 square meters. But why are these prisoners treated like this? What have they done to deserve being thrown into such a hellish place? Is this even a prison or a torture factory? And most importantly, why does no one ever return from it? Let's dig deep and understand why this prison was built, how it came to exist, and what led to 2% of El Salvador's population being locked up inside this monstrous facility. Before we understand why these inmates are being tortured and packed into such tiny cells, let's go back to why this prison had to be built in the first place. The name of this prison is CECOT, short for Center for the Confinement of Terrorism, and it was constructed in 2022 by El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele. The reason behind building such a terrifying facility lies in 2 criminal gangs, MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha, and the 18th Street Gang. But where did these gangs come from? Well, it all starts in 1979 with the Salvadoran Civil War, which lasted for over 12 years. It finally ended in 1992 when the United Nations intervened and helped sign the Chapultepec Peace Accords between the Salvadoran government and the rebel group FMLN, Farabundo Martí National Liberation Front. But by then, the country was already torn apart, with 70,000 to 80,000 people dead. After the war, around 1 million Salvadorans fled to the United States, especially to Los Angeles. In LA's Rampart neighborhood, which already had a strong Mexican-American gang presence, Salvadoran youths, in an effort to defend themselves, formed their own gang in the 1980s. That gang was called MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha. Originally formed for self-protection, MS-13 soon spiraled into a brutal and violent organization involved in extortion, murder, and criminal activity. The gang became more organized under Ernesto Deres, a former Salvadoran Special Forces soldier trained by the U.S. Green Berets. Using his military knowledge, Deres introduced discipline and structure to the gang, making them even more dangerous. By 2009, the FBI reported that MS-13 had 8,000 to 10,000 active members in the U.S. Now you might wonder, why are we talking about U.S. gangs in a story about El Salvador's prison system? Stay with me. At the same time, another gang was emerging in Los Angeles Barrio, 18, also known as the 18th Street Gang, or Mara, 18. Though founded back in the 1960s, this gang had been involved in all kinds of crime: drugs, rape, prostitution. It was even larger than MS-13, with an estimated 30,000 to 50,000 members. Just like 2 lions can't live in the same jungle, 2 massive gangs couldn't coexist in the same city. Both gangs were active in LA's Pico Union and Westlake areas, heavily populated by Central American immigrants. As MS-13's influence grew in the late 80s, it started encroaching on 18th Street Gang territory. Tensions exploded when a girl became romantically involved with members of both gangs, leading to a violent clash. Between 1989 and 1990, Los Angeles saw deadly confrontations between the two. MS-13 killed a senior 18th Street member, which led to revenge killings. Soon, both gangs issued green light orders. Kill on sight, where members were instructed to kill rival gang members immediately. The violence spread rapidly, claiming thousands of lives. Women and teenage girls were often kidnapped, raped, and murdered. One case even involved 3 kidnapped girls. 2 were raped, and 1 was shot and dumped by the roadside. During Trump's first presidency in 2017, police found the bodies of 4 young males in Long Island, 3 of whom were teenagers, all murdered by gang members. Trump tweeted that he would eliminate MS-13 entirely, showing just how dangerous they had become. Back to the 1980s and 1990s, America saw a surge in crime due to these gangs, prompting the U.S. government to adopt strict immigration policies under the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, IRIRA. Even minor offenses like drug possession or theft could now get immigrants deported. Between 1996 and 2002, nearly 31,000 criminals were deported to Central America, 12,000 of them to El Salvador. But these weren't just criminals. They brought with them gang blueprints, leadership structures, and violent methods. Upon arrival, the gangs began expanding their territory across El Salvador. By 2016, they were active in 247 out of 262 municipalities. They recruited boys aged 10 to 14 by offering money or threatening their families. New recruits went through a brutal initiation called jumping in, where they were beaten or forced to kill someone to prove loyalty. The gang's main businesses included extortion, drug and arms trafficking, kidnapping, and prostitution. Every local business had to pay protection money or be killed. One MS-13 leader named Rances Amaya, nicknamed Murder, was heavily involved in sex trafficking, forcing girls as young as 14 into prostitution. The murder rate skyrocketed. In 2004, El Salvador had between 10,000 to 39,000 gang members, which rose to 60,000 by 2012, 80,000 by 2018-2022, and 120,000 by August 2023, according to the National Civil Police, PNC. Gang members were classified as homeboys, full members; chiqueos, aspiring members; collaborators, assistants, not full members. By 2015, El Salvador had 103 murders per 100,000 people, earning it the title of Murder Capital of the World. People were too afraid to report crimes. The gangs enforced the rule: see, hear, and shut up. Those who spoke to police saw their families kidnapped, tortured, or killed, and girls forced into prostitution. Even politicians and police were compromised. Gangs created mini-governments in their territories. They even controlled prisons and ran operations from inside. But then came the turning point in 2019, when 38-year-old Nayib Bukele became president. Immediately, Bukele launched the Territorial Control Plan, aiming to take back gang-controlled areas. His campaign was centered around eliminating gangs completely. His first steps: cut off gang communication inside prisons, banned prison visits, merged rival gang members into the same cells to reduce their influence. But things escalated when, in just 1 week, gangs murdered 87 civilians, including 62 in a single day. In response, Bukele declared a state of emergency, suspending constitutional rights and allowing police to arrest without a warrant. Over 85,000 people were arrested, about 2% of the country's adult population. That's when Bukele ordered the construction of CECOT, the largest and most secure prison in the world, also called the megaprison. The majority of inmates are MS-13 and Barrio 18 members. CECOT can hold 40,000 inmates. Currently, around 15,000 are locked up. It's roughly the size of 6 football fields, with no windows, divided into 8 large pavilions, surrounded by 9-meter-high walls and 3-meter-high electric fences with 15,000 volts, 19 watchtowers, and multiple checkpoints. Anyone who tries to escape will not make it out alive. There are no mattresses or bedding, just steel bunks. Prisoners are monitored by 24/7 CCTV surveillance. 80 prisoners share one cell with a single basin for bathing and a plastic barrel for drinking water. They are locked in for 23.5 hours per day, and only some are allowed 30 minutes of exercise in dark corridors without sunlight. Prisoners receive no visits, no phone access, and are completely disconnected from the outside world. A 1.5-mile radius around the prison blocks all signals. Periodically, prisoners are subjected to torture, which the government labels as rehabilitation. They are fed only beans, pasta, and 2 tortillas, causing severe nutrient deficiencies. Fights between rival gangs often break out. Those who break rules are placed in white torture cells, complete darkness, solitary confinement, and psychological trauma without physical violence. They sleep, eat, and use the bathroom in the same tiny space. Since the opening of CECOT, crime in El Salvador has dropped dramatically. In 2015, the country saw 103 murders per 100,000 people. By 2023, that number dropped to 7.8. Extortion and kidnappings are nearly gone, and 91% of Salvadorans support Bukele's policies. Bukele has even branded himself as the world's coolest dictator and philosopher king. His strategy has boosted tourism and economic growth, with record tourism numbers in 2023. Now, that's not to say gangs are entirely gone. Some MS-13 splinter groups have merged with Mexican cartels, and Barrio 18 remnants have joined Brazil's PCC gang. So the war isn't over yet. Still, Bukele's policies have led to an 85% drop in homicide. Neighboring countries like Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua are watching closely, some even considering building similar mega-prisons. Yes, human rights violations are real. Groups like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have criticized the mass arrests and inhumane conditions. Reports even suggest that thousands of innocents may have been jailed. But the question is, do you think what President Bukele did was right or wrong?